Look at you, standing in your kitchen with your little floral apron, thinking you're a master chef just because you've watched a few cooking shows. Spoiler alert, you're not. You're a walking biological hazard. Hollywood and grandma's logic have filled your brain with culinary traditions that are actually just slow-motion suicide instructions. Following them is the fastest way to turn a family dinner into a forensic investigation. You aren't cooking. You're just playing a high-stakes game of salmonella roulette.
We all think we know how to cook because we've read a few vintage recipes, but the reality is a complete scientific lie that's destroying your food and your health right now. Today, we are debunking 30 cooking myths that are actively ruining your kitchen. Here's a challenge. I bet you believe at least 5 of these. Count how many times you were wrong and write your score in the comments. Are you a culinary expert or a future victim of food poisoning? Let's find out. Myth number 1. Searing meat seals in the juices. For generations, we've been told that throwing a raw steak into a screaming hot iron pan creates a magical, waterproof crust that seals in the juices. Science completely disagrees. Searing actually dries out the meat significantly faster than cooking it slowly at a low temperature. That loud, satisfying sizzling sound you hear? That is literally the moisture violently escaping your steak, boiling over and evaporating into thin air. You don't sear for moisture. You sear for the Maillard reaction, the chemical process that turns amino acids into a delicious brown crust. The reality check. You aren't building a biological dam to trap juices. You are actively burning the surface for flavor while aggressively sacrificing the water weight. Myth number 2. Washing raw chicken removes bacteria. You unwrap a raw chicken breast, put it under the kitchen faucet, and give it a good rinse, thinking you are being incredibly sanitary. The USDA is officially begging you to stop. Washing chicken does not remove bacteria, it weaponizes it. The splashing water acts as a microscopic transport system, launching droplets of raw salmonella and campylobacter up to 3 feet across your clean countertops, clean dishes, and your clothes. The only thing that kills bacteria on poultry is thermal destruction. The reality check. You aren't cleaning your dinner. You are installing a microscopic biological sprinkler system that coats your entire kitchen in raw poultry juice. The oven will do the killing. Keep the chicken out of the sink. Myth number 3. Steak must rest to room temperature before cooking. Every cooking blog tells you to leave a steak on the counter for 2 hours so the center reaches room temperature, guaranteeing an even cook. It is a complete waste of time. Serious culinary tests have proven that leaving a steak out for an hour raises the internal temperature by a pathetic 2 degrees. The center is still an iceberg. The only thing you are actually achieving is giving the bacteria on the surface a warm, sunny vacation. The real secret to a great crust? Surface moisture. The reality check. Stop waiting for the meat to warm up. Take it out of the fridge, aggressively pat it dry with paper towels like you're performing CPR, and throw it straight into the fire. Myth number 4. You should only flip a steak once. The ultimate macho grilling myth. Place the meat on the grill, stare at it aggressively, and flip it exactly 1 time to achieve perfection. This is archaic nonsense. Flipping your steak every 30 to 60 seconds is scientifically superior. Constant flipping creates a localized rotisserie effect. It cooks the meat 30% faster, develops a much thicker, more even crust, and prevents the dreaded gray band of overcooked meat just beneath the surface. The reality check. You aren't a cowboy proving your patience. Put away your ego, grab the tongs, and keep that meat moving if you want edge-to-edge perfection. Myth number 5. Marinades penetrate deep into the meat. You soak a chicken breast in a complex bath of soy sauce, garlic, and herbs overnight, expecting the flavor to magically travel straight to the bone. Physics says no. Flavor molecules are physically massive. They are too large to penetrate the tightly packed muscle fibers of meat. A 24-hour marinade will penetrate a pathetic 1 to 2 millimeters below the surface. The inside of the meat remains completely untouched and tasteless. The reality check. Your expensive overnight marinade is just a very slow, very shallow surface bath. If you actually want flavor on the inside of a thick cut, you need to physically inject it with a meat syringe like a culinary doctor.
So, to recap, you've been turning your expensive steaks into dry leather and weaponizing your raw chicken by spraying salmonella all over your kitchen. Fantastic work, chef. But don't take your apron off yet. It gets worse. Let's look at the rest of the meat department, where your intuition is just as flawed, and food poisoning is patiently waiting for you.
Myth number 6. The hand test for steak doneness. You've seen chefs poke the fleshy part of their palm, then poke a steak to perfectly judge if it's medium rare. Unless you have the exact same hand density, fat percentage, and age as that specific chef, this method is pure fiction. Everyone's hands are physically different, and every cut of meat has a totally different muscular tension. The reality check. You are not a meat whisperer. You are just poking a dead animal and guessing. Buy a $10 digital meat thermometer and stop relying on palm astrology to cook a $40 piece of beef. Myth number 7. Meat on the bone cooks faster. Leave the bone in. It conducts heat into the center. No, it doesn't. Bone is highly porous and filled with marrow, making it a terrible conductor of heat. In fact, bone acts as a thermal insulator. The meat directly attached to the bone will always cook significantly slower than the rest of the steak. The only reason meat near the bone tastes better is because it cooks slower and remains slightly rarer and juicier. The reality check. The bone isn't a metallic heating rod. It's a biological shield protecting the meat from your aggressive grill. Myth number 8. Thawing meat on the kitchen counter is safe. You take a frozen block of ground beef and leave it on the sunny counter all day before dinner. You are actively building a bacterial resort. As the meat thaws, the outer layer quickly reaches the danger zone, between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, where bacteria multiply exponentially. Meanwhile, the center of the meat is still a frozen brick. By the time the inside is thawed, the outside is a thriving metropolis of foodborne pathogens. The reality check. You are playing a slow game of biological roulette. The only safe ways to thaw meat are in the refrigerator, under a constant stream of cold water, or in the microwave. Myth number 9. Salting meat early dries it out. Your grandmother warned you never to salt meat before cooking because salt draws out the moisture. She was only half right. Yes, salt initially pulls liquid to the surface through osmosis. But if you salt a steak 45 minutes before cooking, a process called dry brining, culinary magic happens. The salt dissolves into the extracted juices, and the meat actively absorbs that salty liquid deep back into its muscle fibers, breaking down tough proteins from the inside out. The reality check. Salting right before cooking just gives you a salty pan. Salting an hour early chemically tenderizes the meat and seasons it from the inside. All right, let's leave the butcher shop before you hurt yourself. Head over to the stovetop. It's time to talk about boiling water, pasta, and the absolute chaos of your soup pot. Prepare to realize that every time you boil a pot of spaghetti, you are actively defying the basic laws of physics and losing miserably. Myth number 10. Oil in pasta water prevents sticking. You boil water, drop in your spaghetti, and carefully add a spoonful of olive oil, feeling like an authentic Italian chef. But chemistry is laughing at you. Oil and water literally cannot mix. The oil simply floats uselessly on the boiling surface. When you drain the pasta, that floating oil finally coats the noodles, creating a slick, greasy raincoat. The reality check. You didn't stop the noodles from sticking to each other, you permanently stopped your delicious tomato sauce from sticking to the pasta. You successfully waterproofed your dinner. Just stir the pot for the first 2 minutes instead. Myth number 11. Adding salt makes water boil faster. You throw a pinch of salt into a pot of water, fully believing you've just hacked the laws of thermodynamics to make it boil faster. You haven't. While salt does technically increase the boiling point of water, a phenomenon called boiling point elevation, the amount you use is mathematically irrelevant. To raise the boiling point by even 1 single degree, you would need to dump a massive 1-pound brick of salt into a standard pot. The reality check. Your pinch of salt does absolutely nothing for speed. We salt pasta water so the noodles don't taste like sad, wet cardboard. That is the only reason. Myth number 12. A raw potato can fix a salty soup. You accidentally dumped too much salt into your stew. The classic kitchen myth says dropping a raw potato into the pot will absorb the extra salt like a sponge. The potato does absorb salt, but it also absorbs the exact proportionate amount of water. It doesn't selectively filter out the sodium. The overall salt concentration in the remaining broth stays exactly the same. The reality check. You didn't fix your ruined soup. You just created a very salty, boiled potato. The only scientific way to fix oversalted food is by adding more volume, like water, unsalted broth, or a hit of acid like lemon juice to trick your palate. Myth number 13. Risotto requires constant, uninterrupted stirring. Cooking risotto looks like a prison sentence because TV chefs insist you must stir it continuously for 30 minutes to release the starches. This is a culinary lie designed to make restaurants look busy. Constant stirring actually smashes the rice grains together, making the dish overly gluey and thick. Modern food scientists have proven you only need to stir risotto 2 or 3 times during the entire cooking process to get perfectly creamy results. The reality check. You aren't coaxing out delicate starches by stirring endlessly. You are just micromanaging a pot of hot rice and wasting your own evening. Myth number 14. Throwing pasta at the wall tests for doneness. You grab a hot piece of spaghetti and violently launch it at your kitchen tiles. It sticks, so you declare dinner is ready. This is absurd. The pasta sticking to the wall has absolutely nothing to do with being perfectly cooked inside. It only proves that the outside of the noodle is coated in a layer of gelatinized, sticky surface starch. The reality check. The wall isn't a culinary judge, it's just a wall. The only reliable, scientific way to test if pasta is perfectly al dente is to bite into it. Stop throwing your food at the architecture. Myth number 15. You should never wash mushrooms with water. Chefs treat raw mushrooms like they are made of delicate cotton candy, carefully brushing the dirt off with a tiny towel because mushrooms absorb water like a sponge. This is a biological misunderstanding. Mushrooms are already 90% water by weight. If you dunk them in a bowl of water or rinse them under the sink, they will absorb a maximum of 2% more water, which evaporates instantly the second they hit a hot pan. The reality check. You are wasting 20 minutes meticulously brushing dirt off a fungus. Throw them in a colander, blast them with the faucet, and get on with your life.
Let's step away from the stove and check the vegetable crisper. You think you're eating healthy, don't you? You think you're making smart, natural choices. You aren't. You are just a gullible victim of brilliant grocery store marketing and terrible chemistry. Let's ruin your salad.
Myth number 16. The avocado pit prevents browning. You mash up a beautiful bowl of guacamole and bury the giant wooden pit right in the center, believing it radiates a magical anti-browning force field. It doesn't. Avocados turn brown because of oxidation, direct contact with the air. The only part of the guacamole that stays green is the exact millimeter directly underneath the pit, simply because the heavy wooden ball is physically blocking the oxygen. The rest of the bowl will still turn into a sad, brown paste. The reality check. The pit isn't casting a magic spell. If you want to stop oxidation, you need a chemical shield like lime juice, or you need to physically press plastic wrap directly onto the surface to choke off the air supply. Myth number 17. The heat in peppers is in the seeds. When slicing a jalapeno, you meticulously scrape out every single tiny seed, terrified that one rogue seed will melt your face off. You are attacking the wrong enemy. The seeds themselves contain almost zero capsaicin, the chemical that causes the burning sensation. The true fire is concentrated entirely in the white, spongy membranes, the pith, that the seeds happen to be attached to. The reality check. You are performing delicate surgery to remove harmless biological seeds while leaving the highly toxic, burning white fuel lines completely intact inside the pepper. Scrape the walls, ignore the seeds. Myth number 18. Cooking vegetables kills all the vitamins. The raw food community insists that heating vegetables murders their nutritional value. This is scientifically ignorant. While it is true that boiling can leach out water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C, cooking actually unlocks other vital nutrients. Heating tomatoes massively increases the bioavailability of lycopene, and cooking carrots breaks down their tough cellular walls, making the beta-carotene exponentially easier for your body to absorb. The reality check. Your raw diet isn't making you superhuman. Cooking is literally a pre-digestion process invented by human ancestors to extract more heavy-duty nutrients from stubborn plants. Myth number 19. Baby carrots grow that way naturally. You buy a plastic bag of perfectly smooth, uniform, bite-sized baby carrots, imagining a pristine farm where miniature vegetables are gently pulled from the earth. Wake up. Baby carrots do not exist in nature. They are actually giant, deformed, ugly industrial carrots that have been aggressively chopped up and violently tumbled through heavy machinery to shave them down into perfectly marketable little cylinders. The reality check. You aren't eating a cute, delicate miniature vegetable. You are eating the heavily processed, surgically altered remains of a massive mutant carrot that didn't meet grocery store beauty standards.
Now it's time to enter the real danger zone, your kitchen equipment. This is the part of the show where you realize your spotless kitchen is actually a highly toxic, microscopic biohazard facility. Put down that dirty sponge. It won't save you now.
Myth number 20. Never wash cast iron with soap. This is the most fiercely guarded myth in culinary history. Kitchen purists will scream at you if you dare bring dish soap near their precious cast iron skillet. This rule is a century out of date. In the 1900s, soap was made with harsh lye that would literally strip the polymerized oil right off the metal. But modern dish soap is incredibly mild. It removes surface grease, but cannot physically dissolve the baked-on carbonized seasoning layer. The reality check. By refusing to wash your pan, you aren't protecting a delicate seasoning. You are just hoarding rancid, rotting grease from a bacon breakfast you cooked 3 weeks ago. Wash the pan. Myth number 21. Plastic cutting boards are safer than wood. You threw away your heavy wooden cutting board and bought a cheap plastic one because you thought it was easier to sanitize. You made a dangerous trade. Every time you chop on plastic, your knife leaves deep, microscopic scars. Bacteria rush into these plastic canyons, build biofilms, and become impossible to wash out. Wood, however, is naturally porous and antimicrobial. It pulls bacteria down away from the surface and naturally suffocates them to death. The reality check. Your sanitary plastic board is actually a permanently scratched-up luxury apartment complex for salmonella. Return to wood. Myth number 22. Hot food in the fridge will spoil. Your grandmother told you to leave a massive pot of hot soup on the stove overnight to cool down before putting it in the fridge, claiming the sudden cold would make it go sour. This is a recipe for food poisoning. Leaving food out at room temperature invites explosive bacterial growth. Modern refrigerators are powerful enough to handle hot food. The only risk is slightly warming up the milk sitting next to the pot. The reality check. The cold doesn't sour food. The warm, comfortable kitchen air does. Divide that massive pot into smaller containers and throw them in the fridge immediately before the microscopic mafia takes over. Myth number 23. Microwaves destroy the nutrients in food. Health gurus tell you to avoid the microwave because it aggressively nukes the vitamins out of your food. Actually, boiling vegetables on a traditional stove is the ultimate nutrient assassin, dumping all the water-soluble vitamins down the drain. Because microwaves cook food incredibly fast and use almost no water, they are scientifically proven to be one of the absolute best ways to preserve the nutritional value of your food. The reality check. That glowing, futuristic box on your counter isn't radioactive poison. It's a nutritional safe house. Your traditional boiling pot is the real nutrient thief. Myth number 24. Mayonnaise causes food poisoning at picnics. It's a hot summer picnic, and everyone avoids the potato salad because the mayonnaise has gone bad in the sun. Mayo is taking the blame for a crime it didn't commit. Commercial mayonnaise is packed with heavy acids like vinegar and lemon juice, which actively kill bacteria. The real biological villains in your potato salad are the low-acid ingredients: the boiled potatoes, the eggs, and the chicken. The reality check. The mayonnaise is literally the only thing trying to protect you. It's the naked, unseasoned potatoes sitting in the 90-degree heat that are brewing a microscopic toxic rebellion.
Still hungry? Let's wrap this up with chemistry, caffeine, and the desperate, completely useless ways you try to save your ruined meals. Brace yourself. We are about to ruin your favorite sauces and your false sense of security.
Myth number 25. Alcohol completely cooks out of food. You deglaze a pan with red wine or pour rum into a simmering sauce, confidently serving it to your kids because the alcohol burns off. Not even close. Studies show that even after baking or simmering a dish for a full hour, up to 25% of the original alcohol remains entirely intact. Flambeing, setting the pan on fire to look incredibly cool, leaves behind a massive 75% of the booze. The reality check. Your famous alcohol-free vodka penne sauce isn't a culinary masterpiece. It's secretly giving your dinner guests a mild, unauthorized buzz. Myth number 26. A dull knife is safer than a sharp one. You keep your kitchen knives dull because you think a sharp blade is more likely to cut you. This is the exact opposite of reality. A dull knife is the most dangerous weapon in your house. Because it lacks a cutting edge, you are forced to apply immense downward physical pressure to cut through an onion. When that dull blade inevitably slips off the slick skin of the vegetable, all that heavy force sends the metal flying directly into your fingers. The reality check. A sharp knife predictably bites into the food. A dull knife is an unpredictable, slipping guillotine waiting for your knuckles. Myth number 27. Baking soda absorbs fridge odors. You have an open, yellow box of baking soda sitting in the back of your fridge, fully believing it is magically scrubbing the smell of last week's fish out of the air. It's a marketing scam. Baking soda only absorbs odors when it chemically reacts with them, meaning odors have to physically touch the powder. The tiny surface area of an open box will form a crust in days, rendering it completely useless. The reality check. That yellow box is doing absolutely nothing. If you want a real chemical sponge for odors, you need activated charcoal, which has millions of microscopic pores to trap the stinking gases. Myth number 28. Boiling spoiled food makes it safe to eat. You find a questionable piece of meat in the fridge that smells a little funky. You figure that if you just boil it aggressively for 30 minutes, it will kill the bacteria and make it safe. You are horribly wrong. Yes, boiling water will kill the live bacteria like staph, but it does absolutely nothing to destroy the toxic chemical waste those bacteria have already excreted into the food while it was sitting in your fridge. The reality check. You successfully murdered the bacterial intruders, but you are still eating their highly toxic, heat-resistant biological waste. You will still end up in the hospital. Myth number 29. Brown eggs are healthier than white eggs. You happily pay an extra $2 at the grocery store for a carton of brown eggs, convinced that the earthy color means they are more natural, organic, and packed with superior nutrients compared to the sterile-looking white eggs. This is pure biological racism. The color of the shell is dictated entirely by the breed of the chicken. White-feathered chickens lay white eggs. Red-feathered chickens lay brown eggs. The reality check. There is zero nutritional difference inside the shell. You are literally just paying a premium tax for the color of the paint on the biological packaging. Myth number 30. Decaf coffee contains absolutely no caffeine. You order a large decaf coffee after dinner, feeling incredibly responsible about your sleep schedule. You have been deceived. The decaffeination process is not perfect. A standard cup of decaf still contains between 2 to 15 milligrams of active caffeine. While it's much less than the 100 milligrams in a regular cup, if you drink a massive mug or are highly sensitive to stimulants, it is more than enough to hijack your nervous system. The reality check. Decaf does not mean caffeine-free, it just means slightly less aggressive chemical stimulation. You are still drinking a mild neurological stimulant right before bed. So the next time you tie your apron, take a long, hard look at your cutting board, your skillet, and your trusted family recipes. The kitchen isn't a place of harmless traditions. It is a chaotic laboratory of physics, chemistry, and microscopic warfare. You are not a master chef. You are a scientist trying not to poison yourself with dull knives, rusty pans, and boiling oil. If this video officially ruined your appetite and destroyed everything your grandmother taught you, do me a favor. Leave a comment down below saying "Kitchen Mafia" to thoroughly confuse the algorithm and everyone who didn't watch until the end. Stay sharp out there, or at least stop washing your raw chicken.